Good Arab Shabbos. There's a story once of two friends that met in a park. And one friend noticed that the other friend was looking rather glum. So he asked him, "My friend, why do you look so sad?" He said, "I'll tell you the truth. About 3 weeks ago, I had a cousin that passed away, and he left me $50,000 in his will." It's $50,000. That's a amount of money. Because in 2 weeks ago, I had an uncle that passed away, and he left me $100,000. $100,000? Wow, that's a nice amount of money. He goes, and last week, my grandmother passed away, and she left me $500,000. He goes, 3 weeks ago, you had a cousin leave you over $50,000. 2 weeks ago, you had an uncle that left you over $100,000. Last week, you had your grandmother left you over $500,000. Why do you seem so glum? So he said, it's been almost a week already, and no one has died yet. Story underscores to me what expectations can do to somebody. I think of it, especially in this week, when the beginning of this week's parsha focuses on the mitzvah of bikurim, which is related to gratitude. The Torah tells us when you get to the promised land, you shall take the first fruits and bring that as an expression of thanksgiving to the Almighty. You bring up the fruits to the temple in Jerusalem, and you say, I want to give thanks to the Almighty for once again giving me sustenance, giving me a parnasa, giving me a livelihood, and giving thanks. The theme of Bikurim, of course, is gratitude. So I wanted to talk not so much about the importance of gratitude, although that's a whole separate conversation, and how that's not only beneficial for not only our spiritual health, but not only our mental health, to be a more grateful person, also for our physical health. Research has shown that people that are more grateful are happier and, in better moods and have, more often in better health. But I wanted to talk about, if gratitude is such an important value, why is it so hard for so many of us to have proper gratitude? One of the main reasons, getting back to my story with the two friends in the park, is expectations. What are our expectations? Are they realistic or not? And if our expectations are not met, then we feel like we were robbed. We feel like we were missing out of something, and we feel perhaps even grumpy. So a person that walks around with expectations throughout life, I wish I had a better job. I wish I had lived in a better community. I wish I, had lived in a nicer house. I wish I did that, blah, 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 whatever, fill in the blank. The expectation will not only lead a person to not having gratitude, but the person can become not only sad, but miserable with their lot in life. It's important to realize a couple of things. First of all, the amazing blessings that we have in life. If you think about, of course, this is a very challenging year, 2020, 5780, the pandemic is still raging. And you can't even say, but putting that aside, because that's such an important, narrative of the times we find ourselves in. But if we look at our society, we look about our daily lives, and we compare it to not even people that lived thousands of years ago, but just even to a couple hundred years ago. It's just mind-boggling. The other day, I was walking on the street, and I thought of this particular book that I wanted to buy. So I reached into my pocket, I took up my phone, I pressed a couple buttons, not even buttons, it was like a touch screen. And the next day there was a book waiting at my door. Several hundred years ago, before the printing press was available, and even when the printing press became available, people relied on written manuscripts. Today we don't even have to go into bookstores anymore. There's all these sorts of e-readers and Kindles and all devices, and there's a plethora of options. Even if we're stuck at home during a pandemic, we have so much at our fingertips. Are there problems? Of course there are problems. Are there issues? Of course there are issues. Are there obstacles? Of course there are obstacles. But there's so much to be grateful for. There's so much that we take for granted that a few generations ago would have just fantasized. I also want to mention another example. Beginning of the Parsha talks, Asher Hashem Elokecha nosa lefanecha, you will come to the promised land. We were exiled nearly 2,000 years ago from Jerusalem with the destruction of the second Beis Hamikdash. For the vast majority of that 2,000-year period, the land of Israel was cut off from its native people, the Jewish people. It's only within the last several decades, with the establishment of the modern Jewish state, that the land has become once again accessible to the Jewish people. Today you can hop on a plane and just be there within a few hours. Is it easy in today's times? Not necessarily with COVID-19. But if we told just 3 generations ago, we told our Bubbas and our Zaydas and the Shtetl that one day you can just hop on a plane and go there, it would have been sheer fantasy. So are there issues there? Of course there are issues there. Are there problems there? Of course there are problems there. Are there obstacles? Of course. But look about the times that we live in. There's so much that we just take for granted. It's an author that said once, the universe is full of magical things, patiently waiting for our wits to grow sharper. Patiently waiting for our wits to go sharper. We just have to go ahead and open our eyes and appreciate the fresh air, the food that we eat, the bed that we sleep in, the little things. And that's what Bikurim teaches us. Bikurim says, Meireshis Koprin, there's been a few fruits. I don't have to go ahead and be a mega farmer, have a massive crop. A few fruits I'm thankful for, so I don't want to take this for granted either. We have so much expectations. My expectations was to get this nice salary. Then when you get the nice salary, it's not too long before you want another increase. What are our expectations? And are they reasonable? Gratitude teaches us we should expect nothing. Everything is a gift. Everything is a privilege that we merited one way or another. If we have something in life, we have to be grateful for it. So let us reflect on this. Let us reflect on the expectations that we have. Let us reflect on the expectations and ask ourselves, not only are they realistic, but ask ourselves if they're setting us up for failure. Because when we have these false expectations, not only do we get crushed when they don't materialize, but we lack the gratitude because we always think of it as magili, something that I deserve. So as we once again come to the conclusion of the year, The conclusion of 5780, it's important to take stock of our situation in life. It's important to reassess the expectations that we have. Most importantly, as the lesson of Bikurim tells us, it's important to express our gratitude. A good Erev Shabbos.